Good evening, Sacramento State graduates, and thank you for joining us for our Q&A panel discussing all things networking, job search, volunteering, and grad school. In the midst of celebrating your accomplishments, you may be asking yourself, I've graduated, now what? And that is totally normal. And today we want to provide you with some helpful tools, resources, and perspective that'll help you figure out what's next in your journey. Our panelists have expertise to share, and they have not only been in your shoes, but they chose a profession that includes working with students, recent graduates, and others who are thinking about their next steps. I'm Jennifer Barber. I'm your Assistant Vice President of the Sacramento State Alumni Association, and have been proud to be in this role for the last 14 years. And this is one of many programs that the Alumni Association plans as a resource to our members. In case you didn't know, membership in the Alumni Association is free. So if you haven't had a chance to claim your membership, please do so. It's a great way to connect with each other and really get to know the Sacramento community. We have more than 275,000 graduates, and we encourage all of our alumni to stay connected through reading our email newsletter, attending events, volunteering as a mentor, serving on a committee or the board, being a part of our chapters and networks, and possibly serving as a chapter leader or network liaison. Throughout the event, we will use the chat box to post links for the various programs that we talk about. But don't worry if you don't copy those all out. We will send an email in about a week or so with a recording of the session, as well as all the links that we are talking about today. So sit back and enjoy and be prepared to absorb some great information. And to get us started, I would like to welcome our panelists and have them introduce themselves by sharing their name, pronouns, role, and organization they're representing, as well as degrees that they've earned if you are so inclined. So I would like to kick it off with Stephanie with the Sac State Career Center.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me, Jennifer. My name is Stephanie Francis. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the Interim Associate Director of the Career Center and also the Project Director for the Sacramento Valley College Corps program on our campus. And I am a bachelor's in history degree holder, as well as I have a teaching credential and an MBA with a concentration in marketing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Erin.
Hey everybody, my name is Erin Mahoney, they, them pronouns, and I am the Student and Recent Graduate Engagement Officer here at the Alumni Association. So I get to help current students connect with alumni and vice versa for mentoring and general networking and community building. I have my bachelor's in English from UC Riverside, and I am currently working on my master's in creative writing here at Sac State.
Awesome. Thank you. Elena.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Carrillo. My pronouns are she, her, and I identify as a queer Latina. I'm happy to take up space in this space. I have worked in the nonprofit field for a long time, but I just made the switch over to government. And so I get to work for the Office of Health Equity, and I am now overseeing their LGBTQ health initiative. I also have a degree from Sac State, so I was a women studies major. So I'm very, very proudly so. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And Caitlin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caitlin Ermintrout. I am the graduate student enrollment and experience specialist in the Office of Graduate Studies here at Sac State. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm a double graduate from Sac State with both my bachelor's and master's degree. My most recent degree is my master's degree in English composition. And I am happy to see you all here and hope we can give you a lot of helpful information.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all again for giving of your time. I know it's late in the day, but we've got to bring the energy for our group today. All right. So we have a few questions prepared, and we'll kind of bounce around between our speakers. But we plan to spend about the next 30 to 35 to 40 minutes asking our prepared questions. But if anything comes to mind during the course of our conversation, please drop it into the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. And we'll do our best to get to some of those at the end of our time. If we don't get to them, though, we will put resources, as I mentioned before, in a follow-up email. So you can always know that that's coming or contact any of us for follow-up questions. All right, so jumping in, Stephanie, why don't we start with the Career Center? I know we hear from a lot of alumni here in the Alumni Association, oh, I've graduated, I can't use the Career Center. Can you tell us a little bit about the access that recent grads do have to the Career Center and what types of services you offer?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for pointing out that just like the Alumni Association is free and available and has lots of resources for graduates, so does the Career Center. So we have lots of resources. I want to even point out to the fact that a lot of the employers that we work with, when we have a career fair that we bring to campus, they're actually looking a lot of times for recent grads or graduating students. And so now is a great time. If you weren't really active with the Career Center, now's a great time to really engage with our resources. We can help you with everything under the sun from, I've graduated, now what career do I want? Or I've graduated, I know what career I want, how do I get there? And helping you position yourself, identify, job opportunities, people that you can connect with to help you connect to those job opportunities, help you with your resume, with interviewing, with networking, salary negotiation, everything under the sun. We have a tool that can help you work on your own, and we offer one-on-one career advising. So if you go to our webpage, and Jennifer has put our webpage in the link, thank you so much, in the chat. Take a look at it right now. You can sign up for an appointment. I would say do it, right after you get out of the session. And we will introduce you to all of the resources and help you figure out whatever direction or whatever stage you are in being ready for your career track job. We have people and we have tools and resources that you can use to help you get there.
Wonderful, thank you. I know as some recent grads are getting going on thinking about the job search, that often they're confronted with job postings that say, this many years of experience are required, and they may be thinking, I don't have that experience. Elena, could you share with us a little bit about how volunteerism and community service can help fill that gap?
Absolutely. So for the last however many years, I have considered myself a community organizer. That is essentially volunteering your time, right? And so being a community organizer has really helped me in ways that really just fast-tracked my experiences and really bulked up my resume and my skills in ways that I just wasn't going to be able to get from my administrative assistant role that I was in, early on, right when I finished school. And so when you volunteer, I was able to become a lot of things quickly, right? I found a really small, scrappy org that focused on queer issues here in Sacramento. And I just got started, and, it was really up to me how much time I commit, but I got really involved. And it was very quickly that I was able to get, social media manager experience and fundraising, and even a lot of leadership experience. I got to become a board member. And obviously that was my path and my ability to give, but volunteering helped me substantially and able to really just fast track my ability to get, a good paying job or a higher position job after school or quickly after school.
That's great. And sounds like you really got a well-rounded volunteer experience. Stephanie, can you tell us a little from your perspective in the Career Center, and as people are thinking about the job search, how do they take that experience that they are getting from volunteering or being a community organizer, I love that term, and translate that into something that employers are going to recognize on their resume or in their application?
Well, I applaud you, Elena, for, leveraging that experience and recognizing that it has value to the marketplace, to the paid working marketplace, because what the focus on and what you highlighted were skills and knowledge and experience that you learn. And if most employers are looking for certain competencies like problem solving, adaptability, it's not even so much what your major was, right? So when you can articulate and make sure that you take value and take stock in what you've learned, how you were able to take initiative and take on leadership roles, even though you came in as a volunteer. Leadership, those are qualities that employers are looking for. So what you need to do is really make sure that those are reflected in your resume, in your LinkedIn profile, your Handshake profile, which we hope that you have, which is because that's the platform that our employers that are looking to hire Hornets are using to find you. You have lots of ways that you can demonstrate and articulate those skills. And it doesn't matter that it wasn't paid. It doesn't matter that it was a project in maybe a class that you did, or a one-time event where you might have gotten some experience. Make sure that you include those, you value those, and position those as those skills and attributes that employers are looking for.
And I know some folks listening may be wondering, well, how do I find out about these opportunities? And I've always heard the phrase when you're job hunting or looking for anything you need, that it's all about who you know. So Erin, I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about how alumni can play a role in that who you know, building your professional network.
Absolutely. So Sac State offers a lot of tools to help you make connections. The Alumni Association specifically, I am the student and recent graduate engagement officer here. And so my job is to connect, as I mentioned, current students with alumni. And this works for alumni with alumni as well, just connecting, building these connections. One tool that we also have is the Sac State Career Network. So that is a tool that you can use to find a mentor, someone from Sac State, an alumnus who is from the same career path that you're interested in. You can match with them on this app isn't quite the right word, platform that we use, the Sac State Career Network. You can match with people who as I mentioned, are in the career path that you're interested in. That way you can make connections, get their knowledge and experience. They can share that with you. And we also have the alumni chapters and networks. So those are volunteer-led groups through the Alumni Association who are grouped based on career paths as well, or other social causes, things like that. So Jennifer will link to that as well. There are tons of different ways to connect with others.
Fantastic. And yes, I will find that link and drop it in for our chapters and networks. And I know sometimes experiences that people are hoping to learn about from other people is what, for instance, what is it like to go to grad school? Is that value added to my career path? And so I'm hoping, Caitlin, that the finger meant that you knew you were up next. So I am going to ask Caitlin to tell us a little bit about how you know when grad school is a good option for you and what you can do to start to prepare for that process.
Yeah, sure. And of course, this is definitely a question or a feeling or a thought that a lot of students have, especially as they get closer to graduation or they've just recently graduated and they're kind of like, huh, am I ready to like jump into a full-time career right now? Or do I still kind of want to be a student? Do I still want to go get that grad school degree? And those are absolutely valid and normal questions to be thinking or considering in the position that you're in right now. So I do like to advise students on 2 different pathways, and typically like there's definitely more options in this, but they kind of fall under one of the 2. So one of those is getting a graduate degree career driven? So does your career require a master's degree or a doctoral degree somewhere down the line in order for you to climb up into upper management or just to, get into those, what I like to call the big money jobs, right? Some career paths are not going to require a graduate degree. So if you get one for a career purpose, kind of make sure that it's actually something that's going to pay off, because you have to look at graduate school as an investment in yourself, right? So when you're looking at that and say, okay, I'm going to put in all this time and all this money and all of the other things that go along with being in a graduate program, is it going to essentially, kind of pay for itself or pay out if I'm looking at it in a career aspect, right? Because not all careers are going to require a degree. So it may not pan out that that's what's going to like equate to like more money, right? So then that's the other side of things, right? Is getting a graduate degree more of a personal driven goal? For myself, it was. I was first gen for getting a graduate degree, and I knew early on that I wanted to go to graduate school. So that was something more personal. It wasn't necessarily tied to a career. Now, being more established in my career with higher education, I do know that getting a doctoral degree will help me advance my career to where I want to go. So that's something that I'm now considering doing as a career option, right? But it wasn't a requirement for me when I started my career in higher education that I needed a master's degree. It just happened that it worked out with my, my personal goals, then developed into my career goals. So definitely, I always plug the Career Center. Shout out to the Career Center, yay. If you are considering getting a graduate degree because of a career-driven reason, go talk to the Career Center if you are unsure if a graduate degree is required within your career field. If you have the ability to network and you know people that work in that field, including your faculty that you're currently, maybe in touch with at this point or can reach out to, ask them, if I want to get into this side, not necessarily the teaching side, but you want to get into whatever side of your career that you're interested in, see if a graduate degree down the line is going to be beneficial for you career-wise. Because again, you don't want to feel like you have, put in all of this effort for something and then financially it's not panning out when it comes to your career just because there isn't the motivation for certain careers to provide extra financial incentive for those who have an advanced degree. So again, grad school can really be for one of those 2 reasons, and it can be a cross in between all of those things. But if it's right for you, you have to kind of think about what is your reason, number one, of why you're getting a degree. Because it's going to be what I like to call, it's a commitment. It is a full-time job. You are a student and you are working, because you can work full-time and get a graduate degree. That's definitely like, you don't need to question that. Most graduate programs are made for the working professional. So you're going to be taking classes after work, but you have to consider that of like, I've been at work all day. Now I got to go turn on my student brain and I have to still be engaged and involved in curriculum, because you don't really go unseen in grad school. It's a very small course in comparison to your courses that you may have had as undergrads. So there is a lot to consider with that, but it's not impossible to achieve all of those things.
And I really appreciate, Caitlin, how you refer to it as investing in yourself. I think whether it will help in your career path down the road, or if it is just something that's of interest to you, I think both aspects, you're investing in yourself in pursuing something that you are passionate about. And I think the same can be said about serving in our community and rallying around different causes. It helps our resume, but there are also other intrinsic benefits. So Elena, I'm hoping you can share a little bit with us about the benefits that you personally take from volunteering, and maybe how would someone go about finding a volunteer opportunity?
Definitely. Well, I just want to jump off of what Caitlin is saying, is that I'm someone who went, I feel like, the community route. And so actually didn't get a graduate degree, and I feel like my community work is my graduate degree because I spent years putting in the time and the energy to transform, you know, our community here, specifically the queer and trans community of Sacramento. And so, you know, I have invested very differently, and the way that it feels reflected back to me, it has absolutely grown my network. It's absolutely provided me lots of professional references and just ability to have a portfolio as well, right? So it's given me a lot of examples of a portfolio. But I think it's finding a cause is kind of your first step. And even then, I want to say it doesn't have to be based on the cause too. Like, you can go and volunteer somewhere that isn't specific to your personal identities. You know, you can be an ally and enter in a queer space and still help and get a lot back from it too, right? You understand a community better because you're able to be a part, you know, help uplift it, right? But volunteer opportunities, they're all over. I'm sure Stephanie can actually plug in a lot of links and resources, but I think a great way, if you're looking for smaller kind of grassroots volunteer opportunities, I would say, you know, online, social media, start following different orgs. I think this is an unconventional plug, but Sacramento is really special. We have something called the Big Day of Giving, and it's where every cause and nonprofit in the region comes together to fundraise. But what's really cool is that you can just quickly see all the different types of orgs, how small they are, how big they are, all the diversity of the different causes, and you can just see like what they need. I opted to go for a very small org, so that meant having one person come on was a huge impact, right? So, and it meant that I got a lot of opportunities to give in big ways and take on more leadership roles, right? And take on more roles. So that was my route. But I definitely encourage folks to, you know, we talked about this in our last session, but, you know, folks who want specific growth areas, like, you know, you want to learn how to be better at finances, you want to enter that kind of financial analyst positions and things like that. Every nonprofit needs someone who can understand money, right? Like, every nonprofit needs a social media manager. So everyone can use a grant manager, reviewer. I'm talking about the little tiny groups, right? But, you know, it just depends on what you're looking for, and you can find smaller one-off events too, if that feels more comfortable. Like, that's absolutely okay. You don't have to go hard like I did, but, you know, you can find smaller one-off things and get your feet wet and see, is this something that like feels good? Do I want to invest my time? Do I feel like I got anything out of it? So yeah, actually, if it's okay, I'll just pass the mic to Stephanie, because I feel like you'll be able to kind of supplement my
Absolutely.
volunteer experience.
If you don't, I think, thank you. And I have something just kind of on everything everybody said, but piggybacking on what you were talking about, another great volunteer and leadership development opportunity is serving on boards and commissions. So, you know, every municipality and at the state level, there are these, you know, commissions of residents who can advise on the environment, on transportation, on policing, all kinds of things. And so you can just go and just look at your city webpage or your county webpage and look up commissions and see where there may be an opportunity to even just go to a meeting and start to see if there's something you can get involved in. Also, there's organizations like United Way and Metro Edge, which is a young professionals association. They have a really huge, not only professional network, but these like young leaders society and you know, Emerge, where they do a lot of organized community volunteer events, and they are able to network also. And I've heard from many from these types of organizations who have gotten visibility and notice from, the organization ended up hiring them and going to the next level. And it's just a benefit of being in those kinds of civic-minded organizations. And then really, where can you also, find these kinds of opportunities? I want to just go back to when you're thinking about whether it's graduate school, your job search, even finding these opportunities, it's about people, places, and things. Is just keep that in your mind. Don't forget the people part, right? Just ask around, ask your professors, ask your peers. What organizations are you involved in? What professional society or is connected to your career or your discipline? And there's always an organization related to that, and an extension of that is typically some kind of volunteer opportunities, whether it's putting on a conference or serving on a panel like this, right, to share your experience. We do this a lot at Sac State. So if you got something to share, let the Alumni Association know as well. And then the places like going online, going on LinkedIn, following organizations, going to your municipalities. They always have a volunteer page. Even right here, I want to make sure I give a shout out to the Community Engagement Center. We have a whole arm, right, that's dedicated to creating and serving and providing Sac State volunteers to community organizations. And there's a huge list called the Community Partner List. It's on the Community Engagement Center's page. And those are organizations that have provided service learning and internship opportunities, but most of them are social impact organizations that would love to continue to have volunteers, supporters, board members, and things like that. So Sac State is rich with the resources.
Those are some excellent resources. Thank you, Stephanie and Elena. I put a couple of links in the chat to the Big Day of Giving listing of volunteer opportunities, the Sacramento Metro Chamber. And if you're online and you don't happen to live in the Sacramento region, check out what your local Chamber of Commerce has. Many cities have developed young leadership development programs like Metro Edge that can really provide you an opportunity to network. A lot of times that networking or connecting happens in the form of events. So not being afraid to go put yourself out there. As an alumni association, we plan a number of events like that. So I'm going to ask Erin to talk a little bit about how participating in events can help you expand your professional network.
Absolutely. So as Jennifer mentioned, if you haven't signed up for the Alumni Association membership, that is the first step to really stay connected to campus. And one thing that I do in my job is I help our Student Alumni Association craft and put on events that serve both students and our alumni here at Sac State and the general community. So one of our favorite events, or my favorite events that we've done recently, is Dinner with Hornets, which we did for the first time last fall. No, it was more recent than that. Time is confusing. That's okay. So Dinner with Hornets was a great experience where we had students sign up, and based on their majors or interests, professional interests, we sat them, six to eight students at a table with 1 to 2 alumni from that sector. So from social work or from business. And so this allowed them to share a meal, have more of a friendly, casual conversation where they really got to know each other and make those really strong connections with alumni. Some found mentors, some found future colleagues, some found, friends among the students or alumni who were there. So as an Alumni Association member, you'll get invited to things like this. We'll be asking you to volunteer or just, come experience these really great events.
Thank you, Erin. And not every event sounds like a career opportunity off the bat. For instance, we do a lot of social events. We did One mixer that really stands out for me this spring at Urban Roots in downtown Sacramento. And as I was walking around meeting all of our alums, I ran into someone who worked in counseling, higher ed counseling. And then I was walking around, found someone who was just graduated and was about to start their career in higher ed counseling. So, scurrying to put those two people together and help kind of make those connections, it really can happen anywhere that you put yourself out there and talk to others and kind of get to know people. Let's see, where do we want to go now? Speaking of getting to know people, I think graduate programs are a great way to get to know folks. You get to really know your cohort. I think Caitlin mentioned earlier, it's a much smaller experience than your undergraduate. So if someone's thinking that might be their path or something they want to do in the next few years, what does graduate school application, what does the process look like? And how do people know what the right time is for them?
Yeah, so for graduate school applications, it's going to work kind of similarly to when you applied as an undergraduate. You kind of do it about a year in advance. Most of our programs here at Sac State are going to have a fall admission. So that application opens October 1st of this year for fall 2024. And a handful of programs would be admitting students for spring 2024, but that's going to be very, very selective just because graduate programs kind of function in a way that they only admit a certain number of students every year. And so if they have the space, they'll have some spring admission, but if they don't and they max out, then they'll only offer admission for fall. Because of that, as Jennifer had mentioned, like a cohort basis is kind of what we're starting to see more of a trend of. So when you are applying, kind of be aware that when you apply to a graduate program, it is, like I mentioned, going to be a bit more selective. However, we're looking at you holistically is kind of the latest trend that we see in graduate programs. And what that means is we're looking at you as an entire applicant and not just kind of checking boxes of do you meet the minimum requirements. So do be aware that even if you meet the minimum requirements for a graduate program, it does not guarantee that you are going to be admitted to that program. Some programs are highly competitive. Like, for example, a lot of our master's in counseling programs here at Sac State are very competitive. Our social work program is quite competitive. So you are going to be seeing students who are above those minimum standards, or students that aren't at the minimum standards, but have, a lot of experience, whether that be volunteer experience or just work experience in the field that they are applying for the graduate degree in. So don't be deterred if you look at a graduate degree's minimum requirements for admission and you don't meet all of them. There is still a chance that you can be admitted. And what comes into play here is your statement of purpose or your personal statement. So you are going to have to provide some type of writing sample, and depending on the program, you might have to provide multiple. So they may have specific prompts you need to answer, or they just want to see your personal statement. In that personal statement is where you can get personal, right? So if you don't have the minimum qualifications, you need to talk about all of the other things that make you a great fit for this program, such as your career goals, your experiences, especially your experiences with life. How has life gotten you to the point that getting into a graduate program and achieving that degree, to whether it's to, further your career goals or just to further your own personal ambitions, how is that going to help you, right? That's where that comes into play. Another thing that is different from an undergraduate application are letters of recommendation. Those are going to be a requirement for your grad school application, whether it be at Sac State or any CSU or any grad school in the nation, right? So usually it's about 2 letters of recommendation. Sometimes you will see 3 though. The biggest fear that undergrads seem to have is, can I ask my faculty to write me a letter of recommendation? The answer is, of course you can. Whether or not they will agree to do that though is up to them. So being told no is just a part of life. So what I like to recommend is have like 5 faculty that you could reach out to write you a letter of recommendation, and attach your personal statement to your email asking for a letter of recommendation. They will use that statement and any other writing sample that you need to provide. I would attach with that email, including your resume if you have it. They will be able to use all of that information in those documents to help build a better letter of recommendation for you when it's looking at this program. So, and that's including like your unofficial transcript. Put in little reminders if it's been a while since you've taken a class with someone. Say, hey, Professor so-and-so, I took your class in fall blank, and this was the class blank. And I enjoyed the class because of whatever reason you enjoyed that class, right? What made you think that this person would be a good fit to write you a letter of recommendation? And that's going to kind of just be key reminders for them to write a letter of rec. Faculty are here to help you. So most of the time they are going to say yes. However, if you wait until the last minute, there's a higher chance they're going to say no. So do plan ahead when it comes to asking for those things, because letters of recommendation or any additional document that is a part of your grad app is required and it could basically stop your application from even being seen by the admissions committee. So it is very important that you put a lot of time and effort into those additional documents and not just, oh, do I check all of the boxes for the minimum requirements, right? So really kind of be looking at that, because it's how we build you into an applicant. And then also any testing that you might need to do. The GRE is not a requirement for all programs, but it is a requirement for some. So do be aware of when your application deadline is. And if you weren't aware, the GRE is actually shortening September 23rd of this year, or 22nd of this year. It is going from a 4-hour exam to a 2-hour exam. So it is going to be a lot shorter. They have shortened the number of questions as well as the number of writing prompts that you'll have to do. But if you are applying for a spring 24 admissions cycle, you will need to take the current longer exam, because you won't have it completed in time to meet your application deadlines otherwise. So we do recommend that students applying for spring take the test now, just so you have scores. And students applying for fall, you can do either or at this point. But if you wanted to wait for the 2-hour test, you can. So I just wanted to get that quick plug in there.
Always good to know when things are getting shorter. That's fantastic. In our last session, you talked a little bit about the Graduate Preparation Academy and also some of the workshops you're.
Oh, Jennifer, you went on mute.
Darn, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine, but I can talk about it because I knew where you were going with this. So yes, Thank you for reminding me. So the Office of Graduate Studies is actually starting a new workshop series. So we have, for students who are alumni, we have preparing for graduate education at Sac State information sessions. Maybe some of you have been to that. We just started them this summer. If you have not, Jennifer is referring to a page on our website where we have a link to that registration. We will be having more registration sessions this summer. We just haven't finalized our times yet. But basically, it's going to give you more insight details about applying to graduate school here at Sac State. If you are looking for specific program information, that's a different story. So we can, if you want to put that Q&A in there, I can get you in touch with the information. But the information sessions that our office offers are only general resourceful information about just grad school in general. It's not going to be program specific, just because we have over 50 programs here at Sac State. So we just don't have the time in an hour to talk about them all. And we are not considered the experts on that. That's the degree program. But yes, you can utilize that website. It also has campus resources that are useful for if you're planning to go to grad school here at Sac State, or if you're planning on going somewhere else, that are accessible to alumni as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thinking of workshops gets me back to the Career Center. I know, Stephanie, your office plans a lot of different workshops and events throughout the year that can be beneficial to alumni, that can, help with the job search. Can you share a little bit about what's available?
Absolutely. So we have, first of all, a series of workshops that we call our Here to Career series, and those focus on career development topics such as your resume, your LinkedIn, networking, all the things that we've been talking about and emphasizing are so important. We have workshops, and we actually partner with a community member, a professional, or an employer partner to deliver those workshops. So you're really getting the real world perspective of, what the industry looks for in, all of those areas. We have another series of workshops we call our Meet the Employer workshops, or experiences where we'll have employers who are looking to hire. There could be a fellowship program, could be trainee program, could be full-time positions, who will share information about their opportunities, their company, their culture. And what I recommend is that even if it's an employer that you don't really know anything about, or you're not sure if that's even anything, they have anything to offer that might be interesting, it's all research and information gathering, right? And hearing about what employers are looking for. They usually talk about what makes a strong resume, or, or application, or strong interview. And so even if you're not interviewing with that organization, you can take that information and usually apply it. We have career fairs that we put on. Hopefully some of you have been to some of the career fairs. If not, this is your chance. In fact, this fall, October, put it on your calendar, October 3rd and 4th is going to be our 2-day fall job and internship fair. We actually, a week prior, I don't have exact date, but you'll be able to get that information from our website, is we do a how do you prepare for the career fair, the career fair workshop, to help you really maximize that experience and get the most out of it. Almost 50% of students who go to a career fair will get a phone or in-person interview. Almost 50%. This is a national statistic. We've had occasion a lot of times where students will actually not only get that interview, but at our spring career fair, our education and youth and family resources fair, where we had teaching credential candidates there. We've had several who actually signed their contracts the same day at the career fair. When the employers are coming to campus, they have jobs. They have jobs and they're looking to hire now or within the next, few years or few months. And so it's important that we're bringing these folks, they're paying money to come and find talent from Sac State. And so make sure you are coming back and participating in our Here to Career series, our Meet the Employer workshops, and every experience you can, our career fairs especially. And we're also this year, we're reinstating our Pathways to Public Service series, where we're going to feature a lot of different state agencies. The largest industry in the Sacramento region, if you're going to stay here, is government. People don't think of government as an industry, but it actually is. And it has every single role you could possibly imagine. Look at what Elena's doing with her women's studies degree. Yes, there's hope for women's studies majors, right? There's career pathways, but you got to get out there and explore. And we have those resources, and you can go stay tuned and activate your Handshake account, because that's where all of the events and announcements get posted about all of these activities that the Career Center is providing.
That's awesome. Stephanie, would you mind dropping the Handshake link into the chat so folks can take advantage of that? We're going to shift over to the Q&A for a moment. We had a couple people asking where the Career Center is on campus. That is in Lassen Hall. And I think Stephanie would give me a thumbs up by saying, if you want to talk to somebody, maybe use their website and schedule an appointment so that someone's available when you're available. And then someone else noted that the Engineering and Computer Science College also has a Career Center in Riverside Hall for certain majors. So if you're in the engineering realm, check that out. We had some specific questions about tech industry types of jobs. I'm guessing that might be something better to contact the Career Center to learn more about where to find tech industry jobs. And then we've got the Handshake link, which someone asked about. Fantastic.
I could kind of speak to the tech industry question, but really it's
Sure.
a general about whatever industry you might be interested in. And there's a couple of ways to go about it. So within Handshake, you can filter on industries. So if that's where your interest is, then filter on that. I also recommend going on to LinkedIn and filtering on that too, putting in if you want to stay in the region. Each filter, like where you want to be geographically and the industry or the type of role, like you can filter on those in these platforms. There's about 90% of recruiters, especially at big companies like tech companies, use LinkedIn. So now that you're out part of the LinkedIn market too and competing with that's what you need to do, is get in there as well and be using that as a tool. So really just use those filters and these dynamic tools. And then I would go back to your departments, right, in business or in the engineering computer science department, and see what companies they have a relationship with that maybe are the smaller businesses that you're not aware of. That's a huge market that a lot of students typically miss, are these small businesses that are contracted by maybe the bigger businesses or the government agencies. And let me tell you, they make pretty good quality of life, we'll put it to you that way. So
that's fantastic. And you mentioned LinkedIn and filtering, and I know you can also filter by Sac State, and you can find alums on LinkedIn and send them a message or a connection request. I would encourage, if you do that, personalize the connection request and let them know why you're reaching out to connect, that you're interested in their experience or the company they work in, and would welcome the opportunity to connect. I think anytime you personalize something, rather than just using the boilerplate, I'd like to connect message that comes up, you're going to get a better response. Caitlin, I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse or not, but someone asked, I'm trying to apply for a PhD. Is it a good option to add? And I don't know what EEE stands for, unless it's electrical and electronic engineering, or will a master's degree have the same effect on money and position? That might be a little too specific for this panel.
Yeah, if they are, what I would recommend that they do is that they contact the school that they are applying to. So if it's a PhD, it's not here at Sac State because we don't have those, but that's okay. Basically just contact the either the department or go onto their website to see a specific contact point. Usually they're pretty good about putting phone numbers or emails on there. That is going to be your best answer in terms of, or your best way to answer that question, because it's going to be really specific to the school. So just go ahead and reach out to the school. It's okay. Ask questions to the program so you're not like panicking in your application. So it's totally fine to reach out and ask that question.
Great, thank you. And I know we don't have someone here from the Community Engagement Center, but someone wanted to know if alumni can use the Community Engagement Center. And my experience has been they're very open to participation from all segments of the community. They do one event every year that's called, or not every year, but monthly, I think it is, the Network Cafe. And people from all over the Sacramento region participate in that. And it's a great way to build connections with people within the Sacramento region. So I'll put a link to the community engagement website in the chat, and you can check it out.
Yeah, I believe there should be a blurb on the Network Cafe, and you can sign up for their mailing list, I think, so that you can get notified. It really is a really great networking opportunity, or just to kind of, figure out how to get involved and connected with a whole host of causes around the region.
And I know I participate in that when I'm available, and it doesn't conflict with other meetings, but many of them are still virtual via Zoom. So you can participate during your lunch hour at your employer. And then I think a couple times a year they're meeting up in person. So that is a great resource. Another person asked, what is the Sac State acceptance rate for graduate students if we are Sac State alum? I don't think that factors in, unfortunately, but I'll let Caitlin confirm.
Yeah, so unfortunately, your where you graduated from does not really come into play for your acceptance. It doesn't give you a higher chance of being accepted over a non-Sac State graduate student. Some programs, if they have an interview process, may prioritize or quote unquote guarantee an interview for a Sac State graduate if they came from a partnering program. I know that our EDD program is starting that with their Master's in Education, Leadership, and Policy. So if you graduated from that program with a master's, you're guaranteed an interview for the EDD program. But again, it does not guarantee that you would have a higher acceptance rate. I would have to look at that data, but I will say that the majority of our students who are graduate students here do come from Sac State. but that is a very small margin that's just a little over. So there is a pretty decent portion of students that do come that are not Sac State students, but you do kind of see that students will kind of, if they have the ability to, they will go and get their master's degree from their the institution they received their bachelor's from. That's very common.
All right. Well, we are closing in on the end of our hour, so I want to give each of you, as our valued panelists, an opportunity to share final thoughts with our audience. So we haven't heard from Elena in a while, so why don't we start with Elena?
Yeah, I think something that I want to mention that we haven't talked a lot about is lived experience, right? So I think lived experience is really worth mentioning in terms of like how you present yourself. I always let my future employers know in my cover letter, hey, I identify as a queer Latina. This is what I'm about. This is what I bring to the table. You just don't know how unique your perspective can be to, you know, adding to their table, right? So they may be seeking someone with more lived experience. I think I had a small example. You know, I've been a hiring manager for a long time. There was someone who wrote and was vulnerable and talked about, you know, having lived in their car for some time and experiencing homelessness and being unhoused, and how that was very vulnerable, but was such a big way to say that they know what it's like. They can speak to the issues, and that made them a lot more qualified for the position, because especially because there was, you know, special homeless grant coming down the pipeline for us. So I just want to say, like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to share your identities. That's not a bad thing. And if somebody does not want you for that reason, then you probably don't want to work there anyway, right? Like, that's also your way to filter out people that you don't want to work for. So personally, I've been able to have a career around talking about identities, and I just want to encourage people, like, it's not scary, it's not bad. Even if you're working in a field that has nothing to do with it, you'd be surprised how many people want to have diverse voices at the table. And the other thing I want to just end with is definitely ask for help. It's not easy. I personally grew up in a family where there's no such thing as asking my family for help with professional development. That just doesn't exist, right? So lean on your support systems, your friends, ask for help. In a volunteer space, it's a lot easier to ask for mentorship than, you know, in potential workplaces that you might be in. So you'd be surprised what kind of professional development you can get in a volunteer space. And just definitely ask for help. Can you look at my resume? Can you give me some interview prep, right? Like, you'd be surprised how many people are really willing and happy to help. Just end with that. Thanks.
That is a great note to end on. Thank you. Erin, how about your parting thoughts?
Yeah, piggybacking off of what Elena said, asking for help is really key, and knowing that it is going to sound a little cheesy, but people are rooting for you. People want you to succeed. Your professors want you to succeed. The people who work in your college, all the staff members, that's why we're here, right? And someone in the Q&A mentioned that their GPA was fairly low. So, like, still interested in grad school, how do you get there? Like Elena said, lived experience is key. Leveraging all the great qualities that you have. Don't be afraid to, like, just really go for it, and combine those two things, and you'll make it.
Love the power of positive thinking, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Since you mentioned grad school, I'm going to go to Caitlin, and then we'll wrap up with Stephanie. Caitlin.
Okay, so to recircle back to what Erin was saying, yes, if you do not meet minimum requirements, do not panic. Do not think that, well, grad school is just out of my reach, I guess. Contact the programs. There are points of contact within the programs that can kind of either guide you, whether they're like, okay, well, maybe you need a little bit more help in this area. They'll guide you into what can be your options, right? And really, like, look at that of like, okay, maybe grad school isn't right for me right now. So go and get some work experience and get some lived experience in, then bring that to the table when you're, you know, considering or reapplying for things. Another thing that I didn't get to talk about, so I'm gonna plug it now, is how do I pay for grad school? Because that's always the #1 question. So be be aware that with the CSU system, so it's not just Sac State, okay, as much as I would love for you all to come to Sac State, it's not just us. Non-loan type financial aid is very rarely given in your financial aid package. The number one form of financial aid for graduate students is loans. However, that doesn't mean that scholarships and fellowships and grants don't exist for grad students. They do exist. I have a website of links ready for you all to go and explore to kind of see what's an option. And then as I come across new information or new opportunities, I put it on that website. So constantly kind of be rechecking that. However, if you're just like, I've applied for so many scholarships and I'm just not hearing anything or I'm not getting anything, because that's a likely thing to happen, right? It's competitive when there's free money involved. Loans are still an option for you. You just have to know what you're getting involved in, right? So you're going to be given or offered a very large sum of money. Take what you need, not what you want, right? It's very easy to just take a bunch of money and then just be like, well, that's between me and the government after this. But, you know, if you don't need it, just kind of take what you need to get you by and then go from it in that regard. Again, look at it as an investment in yourself, right? And the time and the money that you're putting into that, kind of really think if it's like an option for you. If it's not an option, if you're just like very anti-loan, which is completely fine and normal, you're going to have to see what opportunities are available to you to get you there, whether it be through employment. Some employers do cover some professional development fees, not all, but some. Are there employment benefits? Like if you're a Sac State employee like myself, we do get a tuition waiver for 6 units per semester. So that's a way that you could pay for grad school out of pocket. You're paying $5 for 2 classes a semester. So there are options for ways to pay for graduate school. That's not just like, well, I was offered loans, so I guess that's it. No, there are other options. You just kind of have to explore and work towards those. And then please come and visit our office. If you don't, want to come to campus, because I know parking is very expensive, please email us. I'm more than happy to set up Zoom appointments with alumni or current students who are interested in graduate school. Again, I would love for you to come to Sac State, but not every grad program that we offer at Sac State is the perfect fit for every student. So if you just need guiding help of like, where do I go with my questions, I can try and help you with that. And we want to see our students succeed and achieve the goals that they've set for themselves. So please do reach out and utilize the resources that are available to you.
Fantastic advice. All right, Stephanie, bring us home with what the Career Center can do.
Bring us home. So first, I want to validate and confirm what everybody has said here. As the career specialist and someone who has the ear or hears from employers, exactly what is said is what they want. They want you to bring your authentic self to the table when they're talking with you, okay? Because not just for you, but for them, it's important to have, that you want to be there, that you're not just there trying to give keywords about a job to get a job, right? The strategies and all the resources that we've provided here are designed to help you position yourself for the career that you want, not just the one that you can roll into or that's available at the time, right? So when you when you leverage people, right, to help provide you with guidance and give you insights into a career pathway, or look at your, graduate school application for you, and places such as the Career Center, or, websites, and tools that tell you about companies in the industry to get information, to empower yourself with that knowledge. And then you prepare the things that you're going to present, like your personal statement about who you are, and that you've thought about and reflect on your resume or your LinkedIn and profile. All of those things together, when combined, not any one thing, right? Combined, are going to help position you for the career that you want. And so I want to encourage you to make sure that you reach out, click on these links, reach out to the people who have offered themselves as a resource, and stay the course is my last sort of piece of advice. It is going to be a challenge because it's going to seem like it's going to take forever. But the reality is, if this is a process that you're really kind of just starting, it could take 6 months to a year to really get in the position that you want. But that's natural. It's not you not having the skills. It's not you, doing something wrong. It really is about leveraging these resources, building yourself into these pathways and positioning yourself, and the reward will be so great. You're going to have the enthusiasm that we all have, and for the roles that we have, and that Elena has in her role, right, in their role. So please stick with, like I said, stay the course and just utilize these resources that you have invested in and that are here, that's here for you.
That is a great note to end on. I feel so pumped up. I'm ready to go. Wait, I don't need a job, but I'm ready to go. That's awesome. I want to say a big round of applause. Thank you on behalf of all of our attendees, to you fantastic panelists for taking the time, volunteering to share your expertise and your knowledge. It's really, really valuable, very much appreciated. To all of you out there who've been watching and stuck with us through the full hour, we appreciate it. So glad that you were here today. We will be sending, like I mentioned, an email in a week or so with links to all the good information that was shared and resources, as well as a recording of this session. So have a great evening. We look forward to seeing you at other future alumni events. You are part of the Hornet family for life, so know that Sac State is here for you. And Stingers up. Have a great evening, everyone.